This is Movies, Please, taking a look at the movie Becky, or as it's more commonly known right now, that movie where Kevin James plays a villain. The premise is simple. In Becky, the titular character, played by Lulu Wilson, is dealing with grief due to losing her mom to an illness. So the dad, played by Joel McHale, surprises her with a trip to the old family getaway house, which stirs up a lot of emotional turmoil for Becky. Then Dad surprises her by having invited his new girlfriend to join them, and then he breaks the news that he's planning to marry this girlfriend. So not to be too hard on the guy, but can he really not tell that Becky is struggling with some grief here, that maybe, just maybe, she needs a little more time to process things? But anyway, the villain Dominique, played by Kevin James, and his neo-Nazi henchmen break out of prison. They show up at the house searching for a mysterious key, and they hold the family hostage. And then Becky goes full R-rated Home Alone on them, although really, it's more like Home Alone 3, plot-wise. And that's pretty much the gist. And like I said, the movie is getting a lot of attention because of Kevin James being cast as a neo-Nazi. I like Kevin James a lot. I feel like he often elevates the material given to him, whether it was on King of Queens, or yes, even Paul Blart. The first one, not the second one. First one. On a side note, he also has a pretty cool YouTube channel with some short films you might want to check out. His Sound Guy series on that channel is a highlight. Anyway, I think James is effective here as a villain. He's intimidating. I know some are complaining that while he's pretty good, he doesn't quite act like a neo-Nazi convict would. And I don't know if that's true, but for me at least, he remained in character, even as things get a little bit over the top. There wasn't a moment where I looked at him and was like, that's Doug Heffernan. No, he stays in character, and I hope that James continues to stretch himself as an actor. I would love to see him in, say, a Coen Brothers movie. As for the other actors, Lulu Wilson is solid as Becky. Likewise, the supporting cast is pretty good. The standout among the henchmen is Robert Maillet as Apex. That former wrestler stands almost 7 feet tall in real life. So of course the screenplay gives him an emotional backstory to soften him up. That way he can be bossed around by Kevin James and taken on by Lulu Wilson. For Gore Hounds, it's worth noting that the movie features plenty of gore. Personally, I think they get a little bit too over the top in a scene or two. One of those scenes is when Dominique loses a body part. But to his credit, Kevin James does his darndest to sell that scene. Overall, I thought Becky was fine. It's a solid thriller. This movie is for folks who have always joked or complained that in Home Alone, Kevin's pranks should have seriously injured Harry and Marv, if not outright killed them. So here you go. Here's your gritty Home Alone reboot. But the movie is frustrating in that I feel like it's trying to say something, and I'm unsure what. And this is where I'll need to get into spoilers. So let me just say I give it 2 out of 4 stars for those of you who want to exit at this point. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. When the movie Becky begins, we see Becky on the schoolyard, and she's watching some classmates fight. And this cuts to Kevin James's Dominique at the prison yard watching inmates fight. We see Becky traveling on the road to the vacation house. We see Dominique traveling to the house. The movie keeps cutting back and forth between these two characters with the shots mirroring each other, resembling each other. And it's like it's trying to suggest that Becky and Dominique are kind of similar. But why? Well, and I feel like I'm missing something. And then there's the home invasion, and Becky takes on Dominique and his henchmen in gruesome ways. She stabs one guy with a ruler, and you think, well, that was the only weapon she had. But then in another scene, a henchman is drowning, and it looks like Becky is going to kill him just through inaction. But then she straight up kills that guy in kind of a messed up way. And a little bit later, she kills another guy who was trying to help her. As the movie progresses, you can tell Becky is starting to have a little too much fun doing this. Are we, the audience, supposed to cheer for her at this point or be horrified? I know she's grieving, I know she's been through a lot, but still. And throughout all this, Becky has the key the villains want. What does the key do? We don't know. Someone flat out asks Dominique in the movie, and he doesn't give them a straightforward answer. In fact, I think his vague answer actually makes things even more confusing. Because prior to it, we just assumed the key opened an important box or a door, but he makes it sound like the key is far more dangerous than that. Of course, the villains never get the key. When Becky is taken into custody, some authorities are concerned how she killed those villains so violently, and she doesn't tell them about the key. Instead, she keeps it for herself. And all this begs the question, why was this key hidden at that house in the first place? What's the backstory here? So I feel like the movie is trying to make a statement, but I don't know what. And maybe Becky will be popular enough to spawn 100 YouTube videos dissecting the movie. Well, maybe some of these questions will get answers in a sequel in which Rob Schneider plays the villain. Who knows? Anyway, what are your theories and thoughts about the movie Becky? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please click like and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter. Until next time, this has been Movies Please. Thanks for watching.